a lot of media is owned and operated by the same groups, by NGOs, by large investment
10 corporations.
Yes, 10 corporate large investment firms. And it seems like they do have an agenda. That agenda is a left-wing agenda. And I don't know, I ask you, does Bukele see himself, because he didn't go with the right or left, is he a right-wing government? Because his ideas are inherently right-wing. And I know that there seems to be a lot of opposition here to defining Bukele's, government as a right-wing, or, a lot of these buzzwords are seen as sort of dark here, like fascist or police state, or things that are thrown around by these media outlets, particularly in Western countries. What is the government here, and why does it seem like the people that oppose it the most are the left in Western nations? It is these corporations and globalists.
All right, first let's go over the fact that you mentioned. The majority of the big names in media, it's true, they're owned by as little as 10 corporations globally. They can send out a memo and initiate a disinformation campaign in an instant. It's called character assassination. It's what they try to do to anyone that opposes the globalist system. You're a leader that's going to fight for your people and not for foreign interests? Well, disinformation, snap your fingers, send the memo, and all the media outlets globally start the campaign against you. But these campaigns don't work when you have the receipts. When you can prove to the world that these changes, these positive changes in El Salvador aren't just media headlines, they aren't political propaganda, there's something that you yourself can come and witness. You can physically come and see the positive changes in El Salvador, and that's what we have to our advantage. Because a lot of the time, countries or political leaders are attacked by this globalist system, but they have no way to refute the attacks. We have all the evidence. Come to El Salvador, come and see for yourselves how this nation has gone from being a dark murder capital of the world to becoming the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. That doesn't happen overnight, but in El Salvador it did. Why didn't it happen? Because we put the people first. And President Bukele achieved something that not many leaders are able to achieve. He brought social unity. We have to understand that the people are the heart of a nation. They're the core, they're the organs, they're everything. They're the soul of a country. If you divide the people, you're making that country very, very ill. You're making it very sick. President Bukele managed to bring them all together and find common ground, which in today's day and age is becoming increasingly difficult around the world to find common ground. As the globalist elite have been so successful in splitting once successful nations, dividing them completely into enemies. These are brothers and sisters that we're talking about. These are people that live in the same land, that are under the same flag, and they become enemies because of political ideology. So, clearly, President Bukele, he doesn't call himself right-wing or left-wing. If anything, I would call him a traditionalist. I would say that he follows common sense and that he is very well aligned with the public sentiment.
So you do acknowledge, though, that there are left-wing groups, there are maybe even some right-wing groups, I don't know, but there are these NGOs and people who oppose Bukele.
Uniparty groups.
So uniparty groups. This seems to be a cancer in every single nation, Herbert. Something that, it's like I have friends, all over the world. I have my family's Australian American, and, America and Australia are obviously, European colonies and of Europeans. And you go back to Europe and they have some of these same problems. It seems like the Western world is infected by something that the East is not. You go into China, you see solidarity. I don't support communism. I'm not personally a fan of the CCP, but I do respect the way that Xi Jinping has been able to bring social unity between his ethnic group of people, sometimes at questionable means. But I think that the West and this uniparty acts like they have some moral, up on the East, but the uniparty just hides the wrong from the people. The corruption, the way they work with the media, it's so diabolical. It makes you wonder, especially with this Epstein situation, what's really going on? And I have to understand this, Bukele, he's punching up. He's in a small nation. This nation should be insignificant in the global stage, yet it seems like people not only respect him, but the U.S. is extraditing criminals to even, go to CCOT. The way that they're handling crime is being a model, right, for the international community. And it's kind of like, well, who wouldn't want this to succeed? That's a bit suspicious. Who wouldn't Who would be mad at a leader for fixing a country? Who are these groups?
You see, this is why they get angry when they hear about the possibility of President Bukele being reelected for a third term. It is because the false democracy that they promote in Western nations is great. The left and the right, they're sold out to special interests. They end up serving the same purpose, even if they have different ideological values and ideas. And that's the difference of when you have a leader who has sold out versus a leader who has not sold out, like President Bukele. They are free to function. They're free to play. You're free to do what's best for the people and not have to ask for permission all the time. So another point that is worth mentioning, when you mention the West, it makes it seem as if the West is intentionally doing this. No, the West is a victim. It's a victim of a parasitic system that has slowly subverted its institutions. It has slowly turned the system into a democracy, which is false. It's democratic in name, but not in practice. And another thing that is very important to mention about the positive change we are seeing in El Salvador is that, as you said, it has become a global example. How did El Salvador go from being a country that was known for murders to becoming a global example? It's as simple as a David versus Goliath situation. We are a very small country that is very brave, that is very firm and committed. And we have proven to the world that when you behave like this, you can be small in size, but if you're big in heart, you can make very important changes that have saved thousands of lives, Elijah, future generations. El Salvador was lost. There was no future here, which is why a lot of Salvadorans chose to leap towards the United States, to immigrate illegally in the past.
So many of them, by the way. So
Many of them, right? Yeah, we have good Salvadoran communities, big Salvadoran communities in L.A. and Virginia and Texas, everywhere in the States, I believe. But that is because there was no future here. The people were basically obligated to leave, to seek refuge somewhere. And now you see the opposite. You see Salvadorans coming back to El Salvador. You see the percentage numbers of immigrants towards the U.S. have severely dropped. They've drastically dropped. People from El Salvador aren't leaving towards the U.S. border anymore. You only see Mexico skyrocketing. You only see neighboring countries skyrocketing, but El Salvador has gone down. The people are happy here. They want to stay here. President Bukele has also made it his mission to provide the same first world opportunities that they used to seek in other nations, to provide them here in our territory, to develop our talent, our people in their home country. Why should you be obligated to leave the homeland that your grandparents inherited? Why? Why should you leave the house that was given to you? Because of crime? No. Crime's a thing of the past. And now El Salvador's government is working carefully and strategically to fortify the pillars that are important for a healthy society: education, job opportunity, foreign investment, tourism, and obviously law and order, which is what we are now known for.